Here we are in Rockhampton. The first time I've been to Rockhampton and heard of the Rockhampton Anti-Corruption Academy run by Des and Des. It's going to be a very easy or a very confusing interview. Thanks for coming on the Voice of Freedom, guys.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Des, what is the Anti-Corruption Academy?
Well, normally what I'd say at this stage is over to you, Des. That's pretty much how it goes. Yeah. Well, effectively, we're a group of people that that primarily study not just the Constitution, but we study the government legislation, acts and statutes that are introduced by the government and whether that's been properly assented to or if it's been proclamated. Essentially what we do is discuss a lot of issues, current issues. You know, we've got a referendum coming up, for instance, so then what we do there is we dissect, okay, who's performing the referendum, which constitution they're using, because people aren't aware that there's a couple of constitutions. Also with the states, there's, you know, for instance, Queensland has 2 state constitutions. And people...
No, we only got one.
Well, actually, that's correct. You're right. We only have one, but people are led to believe that there's 2, and one's legitimate, obviously, and which been proclamated, it has assent,
yep.
And has been gazetted correctly and through the Crown. So, effectively, what we do is help educate people so they can understand the difference between the 2. Once you understand the difference between the 2, you can dissect whether those acts or statutes or legislation pertain to you.
So we're talking acts and legislation, and people don't usually have a full appreciation if they've been slapped with a fine or they've been slapped with some sort of court appearance notice. They don't understand that for the most part you're speaking a different language when you go into a court. I imagine the Anti-Corruption Academy is all about language.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, to a certain degree. No, basically seals.
Seals?
Seals on the acts. Now, a lot of people go back to the Constitution, and the problem being is they stop there. Yep. They don't look at the rules that created the Constitution and what was there in place before. And we are not monarchists by any means. That big-eared bloody Yahoo over there, personally, in my own opinion, I don't like him.
Yep.
The bloody, you know, whatever he wants to go around sniffing seats and push bikes and whatever, yeah, well, let him go. Yep. But there's certain rules that govern him too.
It's not so much the man himself; it's actually the office of the Crown.
So we try and get people to look, instead of stopping at the Constitution, go a bit further back. No matter what has ever happened in 1770 or just a little bit after, who landed in Sydney Cove? It wasn't the Chinese, wasn't the Japanese, wasn't the bloody Russians either. So whether you like it or not, we're under English or British law. We can't escape it.
So where does that leave Magna Carta 1215?
Well, we'll get. It's still there. Now, the problem being is what we do a bit of a history lesson, and we go through step by step, and we do our conferences there. And the last one was about 7 odd hours it went through.
Yeah, Bundaberg was our last one. That was probably 3 weeks ago now that we did.
Yeah.
But on average, if we go away and we do these talks for people, it's on average about 7 to 8 hours, which is a continuation through dinner that night, and which is a continuation to the breakfast the next morning. So some people, it does take quite some time.
Yeah. So,
and you're not going to get it in one session.
No,
you're not. This is a progressive thing, and as you go along, you pick it up. You start placing things. You know, a bit like Tetris. It starts going together.
Yep.
Back to the seals.
Well, it has got a lot to do with the seals and everything like that. Now, as we tell people there on the 14th of February 1966, the Commonwealth of Australia ceased trading.
Yep, with the changeover of the pounds to dollars.
Yes, it wasn't no change. Now, as we know, and it's fresh in people's minds today, you've got to have a referendum to change it. In 1965, the Queensland legislature voted twice and said no to convert to swapping over the currency from the pounds to shilling, from pounds, shillings, pence to the Australian dollar.
Okay.
So what basically happened was there was an agreement between 7 members of a political party. They agreed amongst themselves for the introduction and the adoption of the Australian dollar. And so once that come in on the 14th of February...
Weren't the people also bribed at that stage to accept it a lot more easily? You were getting two
Oh,
Australian dollars.
you were getting bloody rich. Eh? You had £1 in your pocket and you had bloody two the next.
$2, yeah.
Oh, and that, it's just like, come and get the jab and we'll give you a bloody donut.
What a
Yeah.
benefit.
What
What a benefit.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And people rush to it though,
Yeah.
because they don't really understand what's
Yeah.
being taken from them.
What they don't
So-
understand that decimal currency wasn't purely an agreement, so it wasn't actually, proclamated, but it was actually for housing. It wasn't
Wow.
even for the general public.
Wow.
It was for housing.
Yeah, New South Wales Housing Department had a back in the early days. So if you're renting from a private landlord, instead of the getting paid in the pounds and the hubby getting hold of it and running down the pub and putting it against the wall,
Yeah, yeah.
they give them these, may as well say, McDonald's money, but Australian dollars, and they'll give them to the housewife to give to the landlord. Then the landlord went and got it changed back to
Right.
the pound.
It's
That's where
supposed to be.
it's exactly the same. It's just a stepping stone they use. It's like a bricklayer scheme in Queensland. It's a stepping stone to get. It was just a conduit they used.
Yeah.
That was already in existence.
People get hung up on the Brigalow Corporation, but it was exactly the same as what this was for housing, for the pounds to the Australian dollar. Well, the Brigalow Corporation was merely a stepping stone for them
right.
to
Yeah.
use for the land acquisition.
Yeah.
So they come up to a financial agreement so therefore they adopted that and they started paying their own people in the pound, their own governors, their own police and everything. Well, you can't serve two masters, can you?
No.
Because to this day, and we go through and look, you don't have, as we tell our audience when we say, you don't have to believe us. You just got to be the judge, the jury in this, and
Yeah.
just take away from what you then come to your own evaluation. But so they created their own monetary system.
Yeah.
And started paying their own people. So basically, everything started. You start to see that how to cook a frog, that evolutionary stage. But that started long before 1966.
Yes.
And to allow this to happen in 1922, the upper house in Queensland walked out, and oh shit, there was about pardon the French.
It's all right, we hear a lot more on this channel. I had
yeah,
John Wilson
so
on a lot,
that's it. We had a flu epidemic going on, and so and the cost of running the upper house, we just walked out, and as we know, it was the United States military got injected with a meningitis injection there that gave flu-like symptoms.
Yeah.
But it was first reported in Spain, hence
The Spanish flu.
so the upper house walked out. They actually ordered back, but and the current political system said, oh, but they had a vote. They voted out the upper house. Well, they can have 1, they can have 10, they can have 100 votes on it, but it's got to be signed off by the Crown. And you have a look, and you go into documenting democracy, and then on government websites, and you find out the Constitution Amendment Act, and in that amendment, it's awaiting the King's signification.
Right.
It's never been done.
Never been done.
No.
So what is it?
It's fraudulent.
Just no, it's not. No, it's not fraud. It's not fraud. It's legitimate, but it's never been signed off. So it's just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's
It's a bit like your $5 note with the Queen on it, isn't it? You don't have the Queen on it.
Yeah.
the Queen land, and it's under the Crown Lands Act of New South Wales of not 1863, I think it is. 1863,
Yeah.
and it doubled up in each of the former colonies' constitutions. So the land is held in the former colonies' constitutions that became states of the Commonwealth.
Right.
So the Commonwealth holds no land. It can't, never will. People run down the rabbit hole. Oh, Norfolk Island. Oh, Christ's sake, it gets my billy up. And
Right.
I said that all the land is held in the former colonies' constitution. Of course, the Commonwealth can't take you to court for murder. Laws of the land. It can only be done in the States.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It got you thinking a bit.
You
eh?
have got me thinking. You can see the cogs turning. Yeah.
So this is where it all starts, and so all the laws are held in the land is held in that. And one thing that Victoria done was make sure she held the gold, the silver, the oil, and the helium and things. She still holds that. That's why the Mooney gold oil fields are not being touched, or
Right.
they are only very limited,
Yep.
but they can't touch it because it's held under the Crown.
We should explain the Mooney field is the largest shale oil deposit
Well,
ever
no,
found.
it's crude oil.
Oh, it's crude?
It's crude, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a very light. With Australia, on the thing, it's a light oil. It's not the heavy tar oils like they were used to, but
Yep.
they can't touch it because it's held in the Crown. So she guarantees all that, guarantees the land, and so the Commonwealth holds no land, can't.
Right.
And people run off and saying the Commonwealth is held in a Norfolk Island and everything like that. No, the geographical, it's only in a geographical sense, but the Commonwealth holds no land because it's still in the state. Because when the 6 former colonies come together, they were trading on the international thing, because as the colonies grew, they started
Trade.
wool, started trading in their wool and beef and all sorts of things, and we rode on the sheep's back and
Yep.
everything like that. So once they started trading individually as individual colonies, they were competing against each other. And that's one of the reasons why they come to the Federation. So they come to one desk selling for the commodities.
Right.
And Queen Victoria made sure that if the Commonwealth went out and done on the trading out on the international markets, if it ever went bankrupt, they couldn't take the land, could they?
Right, of course, because it's...
Yeah.
Done by the states.
Right,
Yeah.
done by the land is held in the States. And
Okay.
so the Commonwealth holds no land, and but they took over the control of the printing of money, and you got the 1909 Coinage Act, well, the little copper coins and the sixpence and everything had its value in the metal in there. It told you how many grains and things, so that so the rest of it is all done because the Crown hold the gold and everything like that. So they had the pound note. The pound note was redeemable
For gold.
for gold,
Yeah.
and it had a value. It was backed, and she was guaranteed that. So basically, we had a very good system here because between 1900 and 1910, Australia was one of the most 5 best places to bloody live in, and ever since then we've been.
Downhill.
So that system was usurped essentially by the US system. then,
Well,
years
see,
later.
we're going back to 1966,
Yep.
and Harold Holt, all the way with LBJ then.
Yep.
So basically, under that financial agreement we mentioned before, for that bringing the Australian dollar, they were all 7 members of the Liberal Party. Your main culprit in the bloody thing is the Liberal Party. It's not the Labor Party. They had their hand in it. They don't know where because they're
In
all
the early stages, you mean, or all the way through?
all the way through.
Really?
From the start.
I would have thought that at some point they would balance up because they're 2 sides of the same coin.
Well,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
they're left and right wing of the same bird. So
Yeah.
who pays the Labor Party? The Liberal Party.
The Liberal Party.
Now,
Correct.
within the creation of that money and everything like that, when we should be in there under Nationality and Citizenship Act as British subjects. So therefore, we hold one share in the Commonwealth, and I'd rather hold one share in the Commonwealth than being a slave to a political party. And so therefore, they started borrowing that international money, that dollar. So who holds that debt?
We do.
Bullshit. Think about it, what did I just say?
Don't they pass it on to us?
No.
Can't.
The ones who holds the nation's debt is any member of a registered political party, namely the Liberal Party.
Oh, of course.
So when you're talking about Labor Greens, it's still
There you go.
Liberal, Labor, Green.
And now
right.
yes,
Yeah.
so if you're a member of a political party, so
You are essentially the only person who's allowed to vote then.
but
Correct.
hey, we'll give you a good offer. We'll give you a republic.
Yeah.
What happens when you become a republic and you sign up?
Nothing good.
No, thank you very much for taking over that debt for us.
Yes, you take
It's
over
the people that have the debt, not the
No,
actual
no.
political party.
That's what the republic's going to be about.
That's what it was all about all along.
Yeah, and Malcolm Turnbull would be exactly the right bloke to run that argument.
Yeah,
So,
because
exactly right.
international money.
Yeah.
So all the way of LBJ. So it becomes to the Vietnam War. Did the Crown declare war on the people of Vietnam?
no,
So therefore, the Australian government was not a government of the Crown, was it?
no. It was taken over by the Americans
Yeah.
under the agreement, I guess, based from 1966.
Well, basically, what you've got now is the American Australian dollar, or
Yeah.
US Australian dollar.
US Australian
Yeah.
dollar, yeah.
So, but the problem is, as I said under the Crown Lands Act of New South Wales, but the Crown already hold the land. So what
let's just put this into perspective. So February 1966, we changed from pounds, shillings, pence to dollars and cents.
14th of February, yeah.
And in 67, we sent our first troops to Vietnam.
Yeah, paid mercenaries.
Paid
Not
mercenaries,
yeah.
They weren't.
They weren't
they
Australian
Commonwealth-
Imperial Forces.
They weren't there.
They were the Australian Army.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
So they didn't
So-
go over there as Australian Imperial Forces paid under the pounds, shillings and pence. They were paid by a private currency of a
Mercenaries.
private government. And unfortunately for their service, they were sent over there as a private mercenary force.
Yeah.
It's a bit like what we call brown shirts, for the want of a better word. It's
Yeah.
just like your police in your states and all of that stuff. They're paid by a private currency to a private agency, such as the police service, which is a political subdivision of the Queensland Treasury. It all comes back to those CIK numbers and those ABNs.
Yeah.
If they're private corporations, you come back to the Clearfield Doctrine, they cannot be de jure Commonwealth entities. Period. They're done.
So if you think you're going to go through and take it to court or go to, I'll sign up and do it politically, well, therefore you have a contract under seal with the registered political parties.
As soon as you register with the AEC,
Yeah, right.
you're done. You're done.
So this brings forth this upcoming referendum. What constitution?
Yeah.
It's not the Commonwealth.
It's not the Commonwealth
So
Constitution.
now the biggest problem is, and the problem is, the Crown still holds the land, no matter what. They can't take that away.
In each of the states.
In each of the states, because it's held in the states' constitutions, and that they all laying in the shells of their former acts. And now you've got the governors and governor general being politically appointed. So and anybody has, can you appoint a representative for King Charles?
No.
Well, can a member of a registered political party appoint?
Governor Generals?
Yes, they can.
No, they can't. Because they hold no authority of the Crown.
So,
They're getting paid in Australian dollars, are
so
they
we're
not?
seeing a pantomime with that.
Yeah.
So the biggest problem is, and you've got, we'll go back a few years, and when King George carved it, he was the CEO or the guarantee of the Commonwealth. He guaranteed the Commonwealth. He died. So basically, long live the king or whatever. The king always lives forever. It's only the person that dies.
The office.
Yeah.
fills the
So
office.
So when George was there, he had a daughter. She was only a princess, and she wasn't the head of the Commonwealth or the CEO of the business of the Commonwealth, or hold the seals of each of the former colonies. Mm. So she therefore had to receive a Royal's title from the elected members, or MHRs, members of the House of Representatives, to give her a title, so she can sit in there as a CEO. And if she's here personally, the Speaker of the House steps away, and she sits there as the CEO of the company. Now, so therefore they gave her a Royal Styles and title.
1953.
Yeah, right.
And you find that in documented democracy, it's never got that unless we show the people. And you get up to the document, and her Royal Styles title, I just can't rattle off the head, but it did not say Queen of Australia. She didn't accept it. And you have a look in the official document, she signed under the Act, so that therefore she agreed to be that title.
Yep.
Under the Act.
Mm.
Well, as we know, we fast forward a few years to 1973, and they gave her another one because, as we said, in 1963 they started paying their own people, so they had to give the illusion that there's so they had to give the illusion that they had their own queen, because it was actually treasonous what they were doing.
Yep.
So they created this new title in 1973, but she did not accept it. She signed over and above it. Right. She recognised, she'd seen the thing, she cited the document, but she didn't. She signed above it.
Stand under it.
She didn't sign it, so she did not become the Queen of Australia.
It was never proclamated.
Well, it was proclamated
in their system,
but in a separate system. So what you got to think is that our system is over here under the Commonwealth. It's there. Mm-hmm. Well, the political parties went one as Frankenfurter and Rocky Horror Picture Show that we were in.
Take a step to the left.
They took a step, and then they moved sideways.
Yep.
The people didn't.
No.
It's only the political parties.
Yeah, and this is just a parallel, running in parallel.
This is where our strength is of thing, and then we'll get to explain the seals a bit more later on, because they started running a parallel system, and they started paying their own people in their own currencies and everything like that. And but we're not in there. Mm. And the only people in that system is Australian citizens. And this gives rise, we got the Nationality and Citizenship Act of 1948, which we should be under there as British subjects without Australian citizenship. But they created their own Australian citizen in 1948, which you've got to be of both genders to be in that one.
You must be statute neutral gender / a thing.
A thing.
Good God.
In the Australian Citizenship Act, 1948.
Go a bit further, you got the Acts Interpretations Act of 1900 or 1901. Gives the language of the Commonwealth Constitution of what in the language it was written in. But they brought in the Acts Interpretation Act of 1948. So how can you bring another Acts Interpretation Act to change the language of something else?
You can't.
No. But they brought that in. So under the Act Interpretation Act, this is where the genders and everything, they start changing the meanings of the word. So basically, you've got statute neutral gender. There's no living people inside their system.
What do you say the Australian Citizenship Act? Yeah. So there's parallel. So if you go from, say, the 1901 Constitution, Commonwealth Constitution, then you've got the 2001 Australian Constitution, so that's a parallel. Yeah. You've also got the 1890 Partnership Act, to which the single shareholders are under, and they developed their own, the 1891 Partnership Act. So you can see what they're doing. We've got the Nationality and Citizenship Act of 1948, which can also be cited as a British Nationality and Citizenship Act. They created the Australian Citizenship Act 1948. We've got our Interpretations Act, Acts Interpretation Act of 1901. They've got their own Acts Interpretation Act of 1948. All they've done is, because they can't run under the Constitution, under the de jure Constitution, they've created their own system. They've simply stepped sideways. And what they've done, through our own tacit acquiescence, you have agreed to run under that system. You know, you didn't deny it, you didn't rebut it.
Yep.
Until now.
Until now.
Until now.
And that's partly the problem that people are finding when they step into the court system, that they variously equipped with the knowledge to take them on at this level.
Well, it is right. And, well, see, the biggest mistake that people make, and instead they go under, oh, I uphold my common law rights. Yes, you can. But how many, well, no. It's every system has its common law. Doesn't matter where it is.
Even they use it now. They still use it.
When it suits them.
When they cherry pick.
No. Yeah. Don't confuse the fact. Now, each system has got its own common law. No matter where you are and what other system they do. Even the system they operate in, they've got a common law system. But we're under the common laws of England. So when you go inside their courts, I uphold my common law rights. And they'll magistrate, yeah, you do. That's the common laws in my system. But once you go in there, I'm upholding my common law rights of England. Oh,
that's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
That's different. Oh shit, that's a different jurisdiction. And once you uphold your common law, English common law, Magna Carta, all that start to come into play, and your rights and everything like that, because as we just explained to you, they move sideways. So Magna Carta and all your Bill of Rights,
outside of their sphere.
Yeah, they don't recognise it.
They've sealed it out. They've actually sealed it out.
So they don't recognise it because it's not their system.
That's why you've got to try and move the court.
Yeah, right. So we were discussing this before we were chatting.
From Article 1 to an Article 3 court.
Yeah,
correct.
But you can't do it because now, if you get back to the seals and everything, you got the seal that they use for the Commonwealth, and even to the states, they stylise it to make it look like, but it's not. The Queensland one, they just change a few things to and with the Commonwealth, which is the Great Seal of the Commonwealth, it was never a law-making seal. It was only for ceremonial purposes, and it was given to Edward, gave it to the people for ceremonial purpose, and that was put on. That seal was put on to the Royal Styles and Title of 1953. Now, this political system created the Great Seal of Australia. It's got the other rat and chook on it, and only a sprig of wattle. It's stylised.
It's American Sign Language.
It's stylised to make it look like the other one, but it's not, and that's what they're operating on. But the biggest thing is the lion and unicorn. Now, if you go into in Canberra and go to our Parliament House, which is the white one.
The old Parliament House.
No, it's the current. It's the current Parliament House.
Oh, it is too. It is. I'm sorry.
What we're trying to do is, this is the fundamental mistakes everybody's making all the time because.
It's a language.
I'm using it because people won't. You say the white Parliament House, and people won't think of it. But
that's right.
We refer to it colloquially as the old Parliament House, but it is in fact the actual Parliament.
So you have a look at it. What's it got on the front of it? The lion unicorn, and it's all in colour. Now you walk inside there and have a look into the Great Hall, or the King's Hall, where the Speaker used to sit. What's it got? The lion and unicorn.
Yeah, right.
So that's a law-making seal. Now we'll get back to what created the Commonwealth and the thing. And you go back, and this, don't stop at the Constitution. The Constitution is a list of rules for the public servants to obey so they don't harm the shareholders. Now, to form the constitution, you've got the Companies Act, and it all comes out of the UK, and the Partnership Act of 1890. Those the seals, they got the seals of the Lion Unicorn on to create the Commonwealth. And so, therefore, you've got to, and the Judica Act, and all those acts that create that system. It's British, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
It worked really good because they stepped away from it. They created a completely new system. Now, we got a lot of people going on using maritime law and everything, well, because they had to. Because in 1973 they created their thing and they brought what they call in the Submerged Lands and Seas Act. So basically what they've done to get their maritime law in, they deported everybody off the land and brought. So you read the first paragraph, I'll try and buddy.
1973, the
No,
Submerged Lands Act.
Yeah, they brought it in, and just excuse me for a minute, because I'm trying to run off memory on here, and think that they, under the Submerged Lands and Seas Act, and once you read it and understand what they've done, because, I just mucked that up, is that they brought another land, a foreign land, over the land under the Submerged Lands and Seas.
And so they've done this with an act or a piece of legislation.
Their own act, yeah.
Their own act.
Yeah.
That has enabled them to, once again, pull the wool slightly over our eyes.
Well, more than slightly, and because. But once you get it pointed out to you, you can't unsee it, and that's the biggest thing in this. So we're getting it up here. I just like to read the wording of it, and you'll get it because.
I'll just have a quick look for it here.
Yeah.
Not the Submerged Lands Act.
Yeah, could you find it? Yeah, you're close to it.
I am close to it.
That's it there.
Oh, sorry, I was there. Yeah.
So go back. This is what they brought in. It's an act to the sovereign in respect to certain waters. So you've got to imagine they've dragged the ocean over the land because the Crown holds the land in the Crown Lands Act of New South Wales 1863. So certain waters of the sea in respect of the airspace, so they already got the airspace over us, and Carl's got his head in the way, and the seabed and the subsoil beneath. So the actual land, the physical land is, that they are now calling it the seabed and the subsoil, so that's why they can get, and the sovereign rights of respect to the continental shelf, and the biggest thing, the exclusive economic zone. That's how they're starting to rate this country. So once you understand what they've done, and that it's all through deception because the Crown's already got it. So and with that, they bring in maritime law.
And you can see the rat and the chook. That's American Sign Language.
So they.
I love the rat and the chook. That's a great way of explaining it.
So basically, that's how they can rate. So there's in in their weird way, they're on big ocean platforms and they're going down and mining the seabed.
They usurp the sea over the land.
Yeah.
And if you want to go back into way back into history, the way they have done that is through what they call the goat. And the goat is ancient for the sewer. So the sewer flows from the land to the sea, but on high tide, the sea is brought back in over the land through the goat, through the sewer. And that's the shit system they're working in.
That's the shit system they're working in.
So basically, they had to bring that maritime law in, And so we are, and they've got people looking down rabbit holes trying to fix it out with maritime law and everything like that. And you don't do that because we're standing on the land. It's we who didn't move, they did.
Yeah.
And here in Rockhampton, here all the courts and judges are sitting under and they blanket out under a subdued thing that, and you'll find most of the older courts and everything have got the lion and unicorn in
Talking
there.
about the seal, so you look at the imperial
The
seal
seal.
on the front of the building, it's colourful. As soon as you walk into these administrative or contract courts, it's a subdued, that beautiful
black.
coloured seal is being painted matte black, and they've got to do that. So that brings us to, you know, a simple thing that people in the public can see if they're not in a court environment. You look at your flags on your police, on the coppers, what we call the brown shirts.
Yep.
The brown shirts costume.
Yep.
Because it's actually not a uniform, it's a costume, right? So that costume has a black flag, it's called a subdued flag. The blue line through the middle of it, just like the US flag on the police over there, that's the UN.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yep.
That's the United Nations through a subdued flag. They're not ours.
Yep. Yep.
So
That explains
Basic-
that really well, actually, because
Yeah.
I haven't heard that explained that well. People don't understand the difference in the flag colouring.
Unfortunately, it comes out of my mouth a lot.
now, people are getting, and much of them, what we're talking about, flags, it's about people are getting really hooked up on red flag, blue flag, and everything.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the red inside.
No, yeah, it is. It's for coastal navigation, actually. But the point being, in 1954, they got the Flags Act, which gives precise description and measurements of the flag. And Elizabeth II, she signed underneath that and she agreed to that flag. That flag is the Commonwealth of Australia's flag. But one thing it isn't is the Australian government's flag. So, and now you have a look at, you go to and have a look at any photograph of the embassy, which is that private business down there of the Australian government. It's got a big flag pole, and then does that flag touch the ground?
No, it does not.
Because the Australian government, and under Sue versus Hill, that High Court of Australia, Heather Hill, she was made foreign to the Australian government as a British subject. We are all foreign to the Australian government. But that flag cannot touch the ground because that's a private embassy. People do not go to that building to protest because once you go in there, you're subject to the rules. They've got to do all their protesting down the White Building. And so they can't, basically you tell all these Australian politicians, don't use our flag, not to use our flag. And another thing is too, is the Crown, or now Charlie's the holder of those seals and holder of the land. Well, he's waiting in that white building, sitting up on that chair where the speaker is. He's going to wait there for instructions from people. What's he going to hear?
Nothing.
Crickets.
Yeah.
Because he's got the problem they're going to think. Like his mother had the opportunity because they gave her the Royal Styles and Title in 1953. Well, there's no one here being elected under the Constitution. There's no governor or governor, that's a thing, Holden Letters Patent, being appointed by the Crown to sign writs to able to get members of the House of Representatives in there to give Charlie the Royal Styles and Title to sit there as the head of the Commonwealth.
Does this present an opportunity to the people?
Yes.
I'm thinking that presents a pretty dramatic opportunity for the people.
It does, and then and whether he's, look, you as a shareholder of the Commonwealth, and I think you have a duty, and I think to petition the head of the Commonwealth to reinstate, when what we call a petition of right. We've got templates for each states and everything like that to write to the King's Secretary, and in there's caveats, and to reinstate the Commonwealth and our government, and you've got a duty to do that.
Is this a weight of numbers thing? Do we
Yes.
get as many Australians as possible
That
to
is
fill
correct.
this out?
Yep.
Yep, it's always been about numbers.
Yep.
Back to the Governor General that Des was talking about earlier. being politically appointed.
If you can just swing your camera in, just have a look. See the flag there? See it doesn't touch that embassy? See there? That flagpole stops there.
Yep.
They can't
Does
use
not
it.
touch the ground.
Doesn't plant the ground because it's not theirs.
Yep.
That's the reason why.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you,
And just swing next door.
yeah,
See
the
that?
Australian Constitution.
See that? Australia's constitution. It's not the Commonwealth constitution. So is now people see down the bottom an act of 9th of July 1900. Well, is that conjoined to the top one?
No.
What else is missing in that? The word act.
Act. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that the constitution that Albanese wants to change? Because there's no one here with the authority of the Crown to change the original one.
Mm. Mm.
And whereas we've had the Governor General to actually do that. Back to that issue with the Governor General is that because he's politically appointed, he's nothing more than a parliamentary secretary. Mm. That's all he is.
Yeah.
Now, with no power to issue the writs for the
everybody's saying that, and look, I'm not knocking Ricardo for what he's doing, but he needs to respect. But if he keeps asking the Governor General to sack the Governor General can't, because under the office of the Governor General 2002, because what's his name? What's the governor? David Hurley is politically appointed. Basically, he is Anthony Albanese in his absence.
Yeah.
So, under that office of the Governor General of 2002, if you want to sack the governor, David Hurley's got to go to Anthony Albanese and ask, "Oh, can I sack you today?" Piss off, go back to your building, shut up, and just take your money.
Yeah.
He can't do it. He cannot do jack shit.
Right.
So that's a waste of time. And if you think you're going to go, well, what proof do you need that Anthony Albanese is working outside of the Commonwealth of Australia's Constitution 1900 UK? And the word UK, because that constitution had to come out of the parliaments of the United Kingdom. So I quote what Anthony Albanese said, and David Hurley witnessed him signing into the book. I, Anthony Norman Albanese, do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I well and truly serve the Commonwealth of Australia, her land, her people, in the office of Prime Minister. Now, I'll quote the same affirmation as to the schedule of the Commonwealth of Australia. And it says, what he should have, he said, and at that time, is that I, Anthony Albanese, do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I will fulfil and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors according to law.
That's the correct affirmation.
That's the correct affirmation.
And
well, what
there
part,
is no room to move.
What part
what
is the people are not getting that there's a different system running, because he's not there. So how can he go? He can only go over to the coronation of Charlie as a private individual.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Anthony Norman well, we call him Analese. That's probably not the right word.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Works pretty well.
It's my mispronunciation of it.
So those oaths comes out of the schedule.
Right.
So that's what there's no change in it. Because, well, if it is, find me the referendum.
Exactly. There hasn't been.
Yeah.
No.
It's the same like the money. Find me the referendum.
Yeah.
Now, as I said, I explained even like that as Queensland voted twice in 1965 to not say no to the Australian dollar. As referendums run, you must have a majority vote in each state, and you've got to have 100% of the states in majority vote. So what part, if Queensland voted out and said no to the Australian dollar twice in 1965,
it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
Can't be done.
Yeah. So it is operating unlawfully.
No.
It's lawful in their system, legal in their system.
Legal in their system.
They're legal in the system, but they are operating outside the Constitution. Now, as we get back to the courts room and everything like that, and especially over town here, and we get back to the subdued thing, is that now I personally was in witnessed a court case of David John Walter, and I sat through it, and he pointed out to the judge, and you got to point it out to them when you go into their courts, and I had my own little personal experience there because I said a particular phrase, and I will not, the first action, I will not have that in my court. And I said, oh, Your Honour, I note about the seal that you're sitting under, the lion and unicorn. Uh-oh. So basically, they're sitting in the they're sitting in the buildings which are on Crown land, as to the New South Wales thing. So you just sunk his boat. Yep. When that Submerged Lands and Seas Act, you just sunk his boat and brought him back on the land.
On the land.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, with David John Walters and the Norse, and he took Anastasia Palaszczuk, the CEO of Queensland Treasury Corporation, to court for compensation for the harm done.
You hear what he just said? The CEO,
The
Anastasia
CEO.
Palaszczuk, the CEO of the Queensland Treasury Corporation,
Yep.
Yeah.
not the
Not the
Premier
Premier.
of the state of Queensland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so in that, and that's where I learnt this, and it was a good education, because I can remember clearly to this day that David was saying that you're sitting under this and that seal, and well, he said, he kind of half turned around, so I note the seal on the front of this building is the same one you're sitting under. And Judge Henry said, that is not a seal, it's a crest. And David said, well, you're sitting under that seal, and like that. And to Henry come back and said, no, it's a crest. With that, David said, call it what you may, a seal or a crest. The fact is, you're sitting under it. Man, that was the end of it. That was basically the end of the court case.
Yeah, right.
So it still run its full flavour, and there was. It cost him a fair bit to try and get Anastasia up there, but she didn't. They used a sleight of hand, and they do all the bullshit they
Sent the lawyers up.
Yeah, sent the lawyers up, but they had no idea what was going on, and it was a little bit bewildering to me. But once I had a little explained to me, and oh shit, now I know what you've done.
Yeah.
And at the basically, and these young lawyers had no idea, had no clue.
No, I think that's part of the problem we have with the legal system.
Well, see, they can only
work under the bar system.
Oh, well, no, sorry, they can only work under the Justices Act. So that's within the. So the Justices Act is inside that corporation. So that's all they can do. Even though they are members of the Bar Association, they're under the Justice Act, whereas we are under the Judicial Act. So they're sitting there wondering what's going on. But at the end of the day, David basically put an ultimatum to Judge Henry. You're here under the Supreme Court. You either better uphold the laws of the Crown, or you commit treason. Well, he's getting paid in Australian dollars. He was appointed by a politically appointed governor.
Yeah.
So he's actually working outside the realms of the Crown law.
Crown law, yeah.
So what actually happened in the end, when he made his findings, or he's set down his determination, he opened the doors of his chamber and threw the 3 copies on the floor of the chamber and closed it and walked away.
Of the court.
So,
I've heard about that.
hey?
Yeah, I've heard.
So therefore, he never delivered his determination from the bench, because if he did,
He
it was
was
treason.
committing treason. Yep.
So he was confined to the Justices Act. And guess how he signed it? You have a look and then we show the people. We've got a copy of it. It's because I was up there and I got a copy.
Yeah, good.
So therefore it was only signed by Justice J. Henry.
Not Judge Henry.
Right.
So even though he put a permanent stay on David's compensation charge, he also, to make it look good, and the thing you look, oh, he was fined $16,000. They never ever pursued it.
Tried to chase him for it.
No, can't.
Yeah. No.
Because he can only be charged under the pound, shilling, and the pound.
Yeah.
Now, if to find out even more where they sit, you go into back of your, and you go back to documented democracy and go back to the originating documents, and you go under the for Queensland's the Constitution Act of 1867. The thing, you go back in the back page, and it's got a list of the schedules of what the judges and the Pugh's judges are going to be paid in. What currency you reckon?
Wow. For pounds?
So if they're not getting paid in the pound, who are they?
Exactly. Yeah.
So they're collecting them. So therefore, what it's proven is that Henry did not hold the seals of the Supreme Court, because that's got to be handed. They're the seals of they are an incumbent to the Crown.
Yep.
So they're in their encumbrance. They got to hold the seals of the Supreme Court. He didn't have it because he can only hold the seal. Well, he didn't even hold it because in that court was supposed to be Anastasia Palaszczuk. She holds the seals of Queensland Treasury Corporation. Therefore, he had nothing. He couldn't compensate. So if he could not compensate David, what else couldn't he do?
Find him guilty.
Can't convict him for a crime, can they? No.
Yeah.
So this is what we're trying to teach people. Yeah, go down your rabbit hole of maritime jurisdiction. Go down there. Yeah, go ahead, do it if you want to. But I want to claim my share in the Commonwealth, and I want to stay in the Commonwealth because we didn't move.
Yeah.
We didn't move. No, it's not because we're monarchist.
No.
There's rules that are already set down there.
Yep. There's a strict structure to follow.
Yeah,
That's great.
But that has just been slightly moved to the left,
Yeah.
and a new path has been created.
Yeah, it is. And look, if you, what we got to do, and we're supposed to have Trump coming in and saving us coming in on his galloping white horse and save us, and he's taken control of the Australian government. Yes, he can, because it's the Australian government and Queensland Treasury Corporation. Where are they registered?
In the US.
Correct.
That's right. They're subject to US civil laws. So that he can come and take them, but he can't touch the Commonwealth Constitution because it's back in England.
Yep.
Now, this brings up another set of problems, is that in the Treaty of Versailles, to be a member of to be a League of Nations, you had to be a sovereign, independent country. We never will.
We never were.
Because we went, it was King, which one buddy declared? It was Edward. No.
George.
No, it wasn't George. The Second World War. Yeah. Anyway,
You remember.
the Crown declares the war. The Commonwealth of Australia. Hey?
Billy Hughes.
Oh, yeah, we'll get there. The Commonwealth of Australia went and supported the Crown because Australia cannot declare war.
No.
Even now, under the Commonwealth, it's the King or Queen that declares the war. So we went in support of the so come to the end of World War I at the Treaty of Versailles, Billy Hughes was over there, but to be a member of that, he had to be an independent nation.
Yep.
Well, they said, you go back to your people and do it. No, he didn't. he come back here, and he went back there, and he only signed it as a bloody private individual to the Australian government, of the thing, but he didn't have the authority of the Commonwealth.
Right, yep.
So with that, this is where it lays a problem. We're a British subject under the Commonwealth. We can't go to the United Nations to get it fixed up because we're not a member of it.
Yep.
They'll turn around and tell you, go back to the Crown, that's what we've got to do. But with the Australian government, because they signed the road side of things, they signed up to it. And they brought, and that's why Goffwit brought Unidroid in and the Libre thing. So they're subject to it, but we are not. So we can't even go to the UN and get it fixed up because we're not in there.
Yeah, UN members.
Yeah. So the only place we can get it fixed up is go back to the Crown. And it offers us greater protection than what the UN is, because who created the UN?
The evil bastards.
Yeah.
Locally known as.
Yeah, I'm not saying the Crown's good, but now getting back to the SEALs, and they brought in the Australia Act and the Australian Request Acts, and the Queen opened that building up there for them, but directly after that, Bob Hawke done the Australia Request Act for Australia to become an independent. Never has, because what she done is that in 1960 is you got your Bodies Corporate Contracting Act of 1960 UK. So that means every private individual to have a contract with any body corporate must have a wet ink signature contract. And that. So with Bob Hawke, we came the Australia Act and the Australia Request Act, sent it over to England. They've done a thing, and have a look, and you can go into UK legislation and get off their side, and you get the Australia Act and the Australia thing. What the Crown did is they put the lion unicorn over and above that act. So that's the same seal that is on the Bodies Corporate Contracting Act.
Yeah.
So basically, Hawkey had to come back with that. Where's your signed contract with the Australian government?
Okay.
You're scrambling your eggs there. You're really thinking
It's deep.
It is. My head is spinning. It's very deep.
So,
and so much deeper than some of the other conversations I've had.
Yeah. Look, now, as I said, what we do is we go around and do these talks, and basically, thanks to Melody, our events coordinator, if you want us to go there and we do these talks to people.
Yeah, I think we'll organise something for a Voice of Freedom weekend somewhere, and
we go around. Or basically, all we do, our time is nothing, but as you know, cost of travel and whatever like that. Basically, just our cost of travel. We've had the gracious offer from from Richard. He's
our pilot.
pilot.
Yeah, we share something in common there.
Actually, that's one thing that we've got different to all groups.
The ability to travel.
We've got our own pilot.
Only if he feels. But basically, it costs him money too. So they could refund some of the cost of travel, and then basically what we do is we like to do it on a Saturday. So in Queensland, we're basically doing them in Queensland, and sometimes we've left midnight, drove thing to be somewhere 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, set up, talk all day, then go night, then rock up first thing in the morning, have a bit of a yarn to the people, then drive home. So we basically usually have it on a Saturday.
Anything within 4 hours of here, it's better for us to drive financially for the people to get us to go there, because they don't have to worry about, we'll normally come home. Like we did Bundaberg, but the people graciously put us up overnight. And
they had a breakfast with them.
They had a breakfast and that for us.
And we talked a bit more and things like that.
So that's where a lot of people get, like we might go from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock, and then the venue, we have to shut the venue down or we've got to leave or whatever.
Yep.
So then we invite people to come to dinner, and we get 20 or maybe 25 people sometimes to
Yep.
dinner. And then breakfast, you might get half a dozen or a few more, but that's where some of the other information that we've got that we can share with people, we
Yep.
do.
Yep.
One thing out of all of this is that if the Commonwealth wasn't there, if the Constitution wasn't there, if the true de jure Commonwealth wasn't there, that would have meant that somewhere along the line, Johnny Howard, like he did with the gold, sold off 168 tonne of our gold.
Yep.
No, but pull you up. Once again, this is a mistake, and but you've got to read it properly. As Queen Victoria held the gold, the silver and the thing.
Yeah.
So the gold was the Crown's.
The Crown's gold. Yep.
So John Howard sold it. So it's actually up to the Crown to pursue
To
John.
recover it.
That's correct, yeah, but that's what happened effectively. But if this Commonwealth wasn't in existence, if our true de jure Commonwealth wasn't there, then as a single shareholder of the Commonwealth, you're entitled to the dividend of that sale, right? It hasn't happened.
No.
So therefore, it comes under the Louisiana Purchasers Act that you must be paid your dividend. No one's come to me and said, hey Des, listen, for the mineral wealth and you're worth your weight in gold at birth and all the other bullshit that goes along with it, here's your
check.
15 million bucks.
Yeah.
Or whatever
see,
it may be.
to put-
It hasn't
put
been
it-
happened.
No.
Put another dispel to that, because people will jump on board. The Commonwealth was bankrupted. To that, I'll tell them bullshit.
Hard to
Because-
bankrupt a country that's got more gold in it than most other countries in the
No,
world.
well, what's the mineral wealth? No, it's not that. To create the Commonwealth, the Commonwealth, you had a deed of grant. Now, if anybody had anything to do with businesses over thing, you've got to have a deed of disillusionment, and then a deed of settlement to wind the company up. Well, find me then.
I mean,
If those people out there say that the Commonwealth is broke and but it's being sold, bring me the evidence of those two deeds.
Yeah. Yep.
when it comes
I'll
to
bet you they won't find them.
No.
So I will turn to them and would I be correct in saying bullshit?
yeah,
I think so.
I call bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
when it comes to the debt of this country, it's not the people that have the debt. We do not have debt. Australia is extremely wealthy. There is no such thing as a deficit. That when they do their budget and all the other, that's all smoke and mirrors. That's a disillusion.
Yep.
It's actually the private political parties that have the debt, not us.
Not us.
We don't.
And people find that very difficult to understand. I
It's a
think.
bit like the voting process. I think I explained it a little bit yesterday, and I know that I was jumping around. I was trying to stick to a script yesterday at the We Are Ready
Yep.
display, but
You can't vote.
at the end of the
You
day,
can't vote.
if when you look into this and we show people, and this is one of the aha moments when we do these talks, when he's the mouthpiece, but when we do these talks, you can actually see the people in the crowd, and they'll sit up or they change in their seat and they go, holy,
The light
they
bulb's
sit,
just
the
gone
light
on.
globe goes off and they go, you just said what?
Well,
When
it's
you
a funny
tell them
thing.
that you
It's a
cannot
funny,
vote in
funny
this
thing.
system,
Yeah, it's a funny when
they
you're
just
up,
go, holy
up
shit.
there in front of the people, and you thing, and I noticed in some of your expressions, because I'm facing the crowd,
Yeah.
and you can just see everybody.
The light goes
shit,
on,
and
and they just go, holy crap, are you
Yeah.
serious?
yeah,
You're telling us we're committing treason against the Commonwealth by voting when we
yes.
go to the polling booth? Yeah, you are.
you
And the Electoral Commission are telling you, no, you've got to vote. Because
Yeah.
of this statute or this act is telling me that you have to do it, and they send out these generic bullshit and stuff that diatribe to under this act, we're
Yeah.
still going to fine you if you don't. It's
Now,
just bullshit. It's all bullshit.
it's very hard for people to fathom, and I try to tell them that the colony of Queensland come into New South Wales. So New South Wales was right up the Cape York Peninsula before 1867. It was actually, we're in New South Wales, so the colony got split off, and now I've lost my train of thought.
Well, you think about where you're at.
No, just for what you just said, what we were talking about, I just lost my
While
train.
you're thinking about it, just because, Carl, a lot of people in Australia are going to see this, obviously.
Oh yeah, now I
And
know what
just for people, just so that you know, and I used to, it was mainly to have a dig at my my stepfather some time ago. that whether you like it or not, New Zealand comes out of the 1855 Wastelands Acts of New South Wales. New Zealand, and I'll repeat that, New Zealand comes out of the Wastelands Act of 1855.
Well, and then the Constitution Act of
Yes.
1900.
That's correct.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of upset Kiwis there.
But what I'm trying to say is that we're all one.
Yeah, we are all one.
We are one.
Yep.
They're no different.
Yep.
Yeah, because they're all British colonies. Now, what I was leading to there is that New South Wales came out of the Crown Lands Act, and Queensland came out of the Crown Lands Act of 86, New South Wales Crown Lands Act. Now, if you go into Queensland and the Constitution Act of 1867 for Queensland, because it says the Constitution Act 1867 and in brackets got Queensland, 1867, and we keep driving this home, 1867 when it came about, and it was read into law by Governor Bowen in 1869. Now we show people, we get onto the websites, and we go into Queensland legislation, and go into there, and they come up in Queensland legislation. If you want to, or you're not, well, but you can
when we're done for your own sake, Carl, I'll bring it up and I'll show you just how far back this bullshit goes, how far back the fraud goes.
Yeah.
I'll show you.
Because
what
you've got is you've got the 1867 Constitution. Well, you go into Queensland legislation, and they've got an alphabetic row and a year row, and you just tap onto A for the Australia, and then you jump in the TARDIS and you start pressing back, and it goes back to 1844.
Right.
So Queensland Constitution, and they never come into 1867, but Queensland Treasury Corporation in 1844, it's got its seal on Australia's Constitution. It's a very hard thing for people to fathom, and they said, well, I want to know who was the governor then for Queensland. I want to know who was in that legislature. What was the vote? Tell me, what was the Hansard?
Yeah, where is the Hansard of that?
So what part of the bullshit, and then as we explained, the Crown holds the land. You go to 1855, in that under the Queensland Treasury Corporation's seal, it's got the Australia's Wastelands Act.
Australia's Wastelands Act.
1855.
Not New South Wales, Australia's. But it's got the Queensland Treasury Corporation seal with Queensland under it. How do you do that?
I don't know how you can do that.
We'll show you. We'll show you.
But it's on their website. Well, they may want to bloody shut them down. The bloody so there's a lot in that, and guess what? New South Wales is in there about that time. New South Wales Constitution, and it's got Queensland Treasury Corporation seal on it. So this is what we teach to bring down the whole situation. As it all started in Queensland, of course, had no upper house.
Queensland is the key to all of the states.
Yeah, the lack of the upper house is the key.
Yeah, because of no checks and balance.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, all the politicians today are all known by as MPs, members of Parliament, which is only just an office of the thing. It's basically you should have senators and MHRs, members of House of Representatives. Don't have that anymore, do you?
No.
I wonder why. As we said, they've stepped sideways.
Sideways.
In Queensland or anything, they should be MLAs, members of the Legislative Assembly. Well, they're all MPs now, because they created their own. Now, in 2001, Peter Beattie, for a lawyer and a politician, he told the truth for once, because he said, Peter Beattie, my government.
Right.
It is his government.
Yeah.
And he brought out the Queensland Constitution of 2001.
Yep.
If we can bring we got it up. No, so that
you want to bring it up?
Just say
on the slide.
Yeah, just bring it up the slide and we'll put it up. And it's Queensland's Constitution. It's not even an act.
Yep.
And this is all, we talk all this way through, and it's not even an act, and it's a
do it like
annotated
this.
version of his thing. You may as well say it's my camp, because there it is. We'll go back one. So Peter Beattie brought this Queensland Constitution, but it lacks the word act. And another thing in that we show the people, and it's all in part of the, we give all the people the information and the data dump, but it's got no commencement date.
Right.
It's supposed to commence Queensland Week 2001.
But this wasn't for public viewing either.
No.
This
Right.
has been acquired.
Right.
And it's now Australia-wide.
Huh.
Due to the
So,
data.
so then that 1 year, 1 day, they brought in the Constitution, Queensland Constitution Act of 2002.
Right.
It kicks off from this act, but it didn't have a commencement date. So Jeanette Young was politically appointed, representing the Queen of Australia, and she upholds that constitution.
Unbelievable. Well, actually 100% believable.
Oh.
In fact, it's not unbelievable at all. It's just
It's all there.
been-
It's in plain sight.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, see, even under the original Constitution Act, or the Constitutional Act of 1867, in the first line, it should be the government of Queensland. But they got it down as Queensland
Yeah,
government.
Queensland government.
They just swapped the words around.
It's the same
And
as state of
so-
Queensland, isn't
yeah.
it? It
Yeah.
should be Queensland, a state of
Yeah.
the
The
Commonwealth.
Commonwealth.
So you've
Not
got
the
to
other way
train.
around.
You've got to train your thing to what you see and what you read is two different things. And you've
Words
got-
are important. Aren't
Words
very
are important.
And
Yeah.
and look, yeah. And this is what we think. If you go to the just show you something, and if they're most of their acts, if you go to slide number 8, I think
Number 80?
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry.
no.
Yeah, go
not
to
the
slide. Go to slide number 80 because it'll show you.
Slide 80?
Yeah.
Are you sure it's slide 80?
No, go down there. I just want to show you something.
Where am I at now? 65.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We're up to 80. No, that's 80 on
Yeah,
mine.
go two back. Go two back. That's it. Now, here you got. Here's a very important, and it's a jurisdiction of cross vesting Act of 9. There's a couple of things we want to point out onto these ones here. Is that act there shows that they can't cross vest on the common laws of England.
Right.
And that also back here, and then you say it. See, it's copyrighted to the state of Queensland. It's copyrighted. But no government act can be copyrighted because it's of the people. So it's a private business.
Mm.
But see this one here? That's the logo for the International Bloody Monetary Fund.
That logo there.
Yeah.
Yes, that black and white logo, International Monetary Fund. And this is, you know, when we're quoting this stuff and we sound like broken records, is that all of these, like the Queensland Treasury Corporation, for instance, or the Australian Government, or the State of Queensland, they're all registered with CIK numbers under international licensing through that Creative Commons Attribution 4.0. That's how the US Justice Department through the Securities Exchange Commission. And it's a unicameral agreement. It's not a bicameral agreement. It's a unicameral agreement. So it's only one way.
Otherwise, the United States has got to be registered with us for trade as well.
For
no?
trade.
Is it?
They
This
say,
one
oh, it's
says-
just for trade. It's just for trade. It's business. It's a business trade. No, it's not.
Yeah,
Because
where are they registered with
as
us?
soon as any Commonwealth entity obtains an ABN number, you've got two, I think Boilermakers ex parte, and you've got Queensland Rail versus Anor, but you've also got the Clearfield Doctrine, which they don't want to use or don't want to recognise, but it's an international law that under the Clearfield Doctrine, any Commonwealth, de jure Commonwealth entity that obtains an ABN number cannot be, nor can it ever revert back to being a Commonwealth entity. It's private.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
So-
they haven't got the authority to go back.
And then we come back to the Body Corporate Contracting Act of 1960, that have a wedding signature. If you want to have a contract with them, whether it be with the Queensland Transport Department, whether it be for the Queensland Police, whether it be for Livingston Shire Council, Rockhampton Shire Council, Brisbane, you must, at law, have a signed contract with that corporation.
Right.
Right? Meeting of the minds.
Yeah.
So a corporation, and we come back to our all caps and all that sort of stuff,
Yep.
but essentially, the living men and women, which comes back to your common law and all that sort of stuff that people want to use in the court, if you use the facts, that's where you are living. You're in that constitution.
Yeah.
Into the 1867 constitution, Queensland. That's where the living men and women are. If you want to start using all that bullshit in court,
but you can't
You
vote.
can't. Yeah.
you can't. You've got to back it up with the facts.
Yep.
Right.
So even
that's
even
where-
like
that's
this
how it
is how crooked it is that under the Commonwealth Electoral Act, they changed the definitions of the Act. And
How they do that? Des?
yeah, I don't know.
They just decide to.
But you take even what they've done, because there's only, well, you can't vote for a start, but there's only one designated party you can vote for. Under the subsection 287, they inserted the word designated federal party, and then within that designated federal party shall mean the Liberal Party.
Right.
So therefore, there's only one party you can vote for.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. One. Liberal Party.
Yeah. So they created the money. They're the only ones you can vote for.
And this is how they control the other
Now,
parties.
Anthony Albanese has now got a contract under a person-to-person contract under seal with the Liberal Party to form a de facto government.
Government,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the basically the thing working for them, and within Queensland, how they catch you, and you'll find in there you just got to read it. Actually, only the eligible people to able to vote have got to be members of a registered political party of 1,500 people or more.
More, yeah.
So, average Joe Blow cannot vote. The people go, well, but I went in the thing. Yes, you did.
Yeah, they did.
You voted thing, but you don't understand the bullshit.
Yeah.
Remember yesterday on the stage I said that they're not trying to fine you or rape and pillage because you didn't vote. They're trying to fine you because you
Didn't
have permission to allocate.
Your $3.75 vote, whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah,
Yeah, you didn't allocate that money to them. So
Yeah.
that's what they're doing. So they punish you for that, or try to. But we do have a system to negate that. Yeah.
oh, we've
Like,
had
employ that system.
we had a bit of a success with it.
So what we've got up here on the screen, Carl, and we said we're going to do this after you do the interview, but if you're interested, we can very, very quickly show you just how out and in your face the deception of this process.
You know what I'd really like to do, guys?
Yep.
I would like to do this again next week. And I know that you guys don't live in the same town, but we can do this
Oh no,
online and show.
we're only.
Wow,
We're going to
actually,
feed too much information into people
Yeah.
in one setting here, and we're going to turn them off. So
Yeah.
we could do better doing 8 weeks at 1 hour a night.
Yeah.
yes.
Education going forward.
Yes.
And I would
agree.
love to, if at all possible, I'll obviously speak with your coordinator.
A secretary.
Yeah. I want to get you guys down, well, anywhere in Queensland, but down to the Gold Coast, down to Brisbane, and I'm sure that we can put together something, an event for a weekend, which we will stream. I'll bring all the bells and whistles,
Yeah.
and we will have an event weekend.
Yeah,
where-
we'll see. Well, then we can go through and do our whole.
That's what I think it needs to do. I mean, we can't cram 8 to 15 hours of learning into the short time that I've got to spend with you.
Yeah.
And if I'm concerned because it is deep.
No.
I mean, I'm sort of au fait with most parts of the law. I've got a basic understanding, and you've blown me away this
Well,
morning.
we've had this every time, and then we had it down in Bundaberg, and different occasions. People said, "Oh, I've been studying this for X amount of years and everything," and they said, "I thought I knew a lot, and you're just taking me to a different dimension." And so we've got to re-educate ourselves.
Yeah.
Steve, the next day I dropped into one of the chaps' places because he kindly offered. He noticed that the old Volkswagen had, your headlight covers get yellow stain on them.
Yep.
And he kindly offered to polish them for me, and I was heading past his place where he lived from Bundy there on the way back to Rocky, and he said, drop on in, he said, I'll polish you. So I took him up on the office, I said, mate, I'll be there, because at night time I can't see
a thing.
and he did.
He can't see looking anyway.
Yeah, he had his brother-in-law and another chap there at his, he's actually a panel beater and whatnot, you know, and really good setup. And we were talking there the next morning, he said to his brother-in-law, when I was about to leave, he said, you know, he said, I've been doing this for a long time. He said, but from an education point of view, he said, I feel I've just been taken right back to kindergarten.
Yeah.
He said, I know nothing. He said, I know nothing. He said, I've been doing this for a long time. So he's been down a rabbit hole, so a lot of people, I don't care what rabbit hole you've been down, you need to climb back out, you know.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing we said about how we started there is that what you think you know, when you come into the thing to listen to this, leave whatever you think you know outside the door. Come there to a blank page. We're not asking you to believe us or anything like that.
But leave your bias at the door.
Yeah. Leave your bias at the door.
Yep.
Come there as a jury. He will present that thing. We'll show you where to find it. Then you leave and work it out for yourself.
Yeah.
We're not just leaving. We're not just feeding you a whole bunch of information and go, well, just go and decipher that, or do a bit of research for yourself. Yeah, you'd certainly do the research.
Absolutely.
But right then and there, we go through on the internet, on their government sites, we show you exactly what they do, what they've done, and how they've usurped their private system into our Commonwealth.
And then the words of Sir Harry Talbot Gibbs will come into mind. I therefore have come to the conclusion that the current legal and political system in use in Australia and its states, territories, had no basis in law. So once you understand that, and with that, there's a lot more to that, because when it gets back to that Treaty of Versailles. So he knew the system of the thing. The only thing he's trying to advise the judges and magistrates, if you want to get done for treason and anything like that, you can only adjourn any cases soon he died.
Wow.
In other words, kick the can down the road.
Exactly.
Kicking the can.
That's all you can do.
Yeah.
Because they
to keep their slate clean and make it look like they're doing the job, and we'll adjourn it to a day never to be affixed. So get it out of here.
Remember when you and I, prior to the interview we're doing here now, this morning I said there's two people in particular that when he held up his petition to right and he held up his bill of lading, and I explained to you the bill of lading is almost as important as the documents that you send or the instruments that you pass on to wherever. That one particular case there, it's been kicked down the road, soon he die, because after three barristers, and they still can't get you, they just keep kicking down the road.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. All right, guys, I'm blown away by the level of information you've just been able to give us this morning. But it just leads me to think that we've got to do this much more regularly and in bite-sized pieces for people to understand.
It's a lot of work, pal. It's a lot of work, and in actual fact, it's more akin to a lifestyle. Yeah. You know, my beautiful partner knows what it's like. She puts up with a lot of what I do, and we spend a lot of time here in this classroom.
Quite regularly, we get people say, hey, when we do it, can you condense it down?
Yeah.
Well, basically,
can you shorten it?
No,
you can't.
No,
you
it's
can't
a symptom of what people want us to ignore. I quite often get people to ask me, can you explain what's happening? I said, well, how many years have you got? Yeah. Where do we start? Yep. I can't give you the answer in 5 minutes.
No.
So therefore, what you're saying, basically, what you should, we do these things, and then you do your bite size, because that allow people to, because you just see, I know, because just I look at some of the people in the thing, they go, they're, and then
an epiphany moment.
Yeah, but it's just becomes information overload, and then they walk away with their head spinning, and they just trying
and they get nothing.
And look,
they don't know where to start.
It took me a long time to get that, and thanks to that old gentleman down the Buddy corner, he put me in contact with David Walter, and then look, I was just as confused as anybody else. Yeah. Once I started joining the bloody pieces together, and then I just had to sit there and listen and walk away and go, oh yeah, but then you use your random access memories and you can get it and put it together. But I was just as confused as anybody else, but now it's fallen into place. Beautiful. And some people ask, my niece said about it, so, oh, could you get David on to explain? And she said, you're not ready for him. Because when that man goes, and if you don't know what he's talking about, you won't keep up with him. Yeah. And it is just too hard. And I got to try and put it in layman's terms as much as he can. He just rattles it off.
We've had him chime in by a phone into our meetings on a couple of occasions. One.
It won't be long. It won't be long.
Now,
6 hours later.
We've tried to get a word in edgewise for 5 hours.
Yeah, well.
One was 7 hours.
Wow.
7 hours. He can talk non-stop. And just try and, at the 4 hour mark, you're saying, David, look mate, we've got to go, we've got to wrap it up. 3 hours later, you're still trying to wrap it up. Wow. So there's a lot of information. Yeah, I'll just check, make sure Des is happy with me putting that up there in relation to the address for the classroom.
I won't show that. You can give that to me later, and I'll put up what's appropriate.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But we have got it there, especially with the Facebook group. If anyone wants to go in and have a look at the Anti-Corruption Academy, there's an awful lot on the Facebook there. I don't know if you can...
So is it just Facebook, if you type in Anti-Corruption Academy?
No, that's the problem. Because of the information that we've got a lot of shills that come in there and they try and shut it down.
We are on the development of having our own website, but that's in the development process.
I can give you a place on the Voice of Freedom.
Yeah.
Got a website and a page you can have to
Oh, good. Excellent. Thank you. So anyway, that's effectively it. You can take that as you wish and you can edit that. People can get in contact with us. So instead of typing in Anti-Corruption Academy on Facebook, if you just go to the HTTPS, whatever that says there, /www, type all that in, and then you'll definitely get in there. There's a couple of questions to answer, and you'll be allowed into the group. So that's fine.
Awesome.
Yep. So that's our information there, and that's also the Zoom link. And anyone's welcome in the Zoom on the weekends. Anyone's welcome to the classroom. It's free.
So this is an ongoing thing, every fortnight?
Every fortnight, non-stop.
And it's a national thing, the Zoom is a national
thing.
Yep.
It's free to join.
We do, first hour and a half of the thing, we do have our
We do have a private members area, like for people that have got court cases going on, so we don't broadcast that on the main Zoom. So 2 things happen at once. We've got our main Zoom meeting starts at 9 AM, along with the breakout room at 9 AM. At 10:30, the private breakout room for the members, we chime back into the main Zoom meeting. So 2 Zooms happen at once, plus at the same time we've got 25-30 people in the classroom at the same time. So we're probably different to most groups because they either have just a Zoom or they have a classroom meeting, but we incorporate the both.
Yep. Awesome, you've done a great job.
Now, one thing we have been finding, and we do not, even though originally we went along the common law, but we pulled that because we now know you can't do it. And you just ask people, don't advertise yourself as common law because that brings up the red flags, and we have venues cancelled on you and everything like that.
They think you're politically affiliated online.
No,
because we're apolitical. We don't. Political parties don't mean jack shit to us because they're non-existent.
Well, see, there's a thing, and you got the Companies Act, and that we all hold one share in the Commonwealth. And under the Companies Act, are you allowed to get several members of the company to group together to outvote one another?
No.
It's called collusion, isn't it?
Yeah, that is.
So every member of the political parties, right, they're private individuals being held in one share of the Commonwealth. What have they done?
Colluded.
So what are political parties?
Illegal. Unlawful.
Well, not so much they can't do it. They can have a political party, but they're not allowed to go into the parliament as a political party.
Yeah.
They've got to be there as independents because they're supposed to be representing the people of their district. And guess what? Years ago, they volunteered to do it. They didn't get paid. No. All they got is travelling expenses.
Yep.
Yeah, there you
go. So, you used to have MLAs, MHRs. You used to have aldermen in your councils now.
Aldermen, that's right. Yeah.
Because they've changed the whole system.
Yeah.
So,
Guys, I'm blown away by it. Thank you very much for sharing what you have with us today. And I will get you back on the show regularly so that we can break this down and try and help people. And certainly, if I can help you put some shows up around the countryside, and I'm very happy to come along. We'll put some down the Gold Coast or in Brisbane. And I know that you're fairly ready to travel through Queensland, but I know that there will be other parts of the country.
Yeah, we're actually organising something. I think our next one may be in Toowoomba first. I'm not sure, but we've also got Adelaide. We're going to
great.
Well, just it's so far and just
it's in the works.
In the working, but they don't quite know how to promote it or anything like that, and they're a little bit weary, aren't they?
They keep reverting back to that common law thing, which is it's not a safe space, so to speak. You know.
No, it's certainly not a safe space.
Well, see, that's the thing, and that's the thing, and what we are trying to alert people to, because the very first thing they attack you with is sovereign citizen. Well, as we know it's an oxymoron. You can't be thinking. But
God help the first person that comes to me and uses those two words in a sentence and tries to accuse me of being one.
Yeah, because basically we're a British subject under the National and Citizenship Act. They've got to actually surrender their nationality to become an Australian citizen to enter into that business of a international registered business on the United States Securities Exchange.
First piece, have you put down, Melody?
So they become...
No, the other one. The other one.
So,
no, not that one. The other one.
Citizen of that...
one on the green folder.
Yeah. They become a citizen of that thing. So therefore... like Queensland is now a sovereign state, a so-called sovereign state, but it can't be because it hasn't got its own currency.
The other side.
So therefore, they become so any state employee, whether it be a police officer or whether it be council worker or any type of bureaucrat or anybody in authority, therefore is a sovereign citizen.
Yeah.
This is the brochure that I put out there yesterday, that Melody and everyone put around. This is what I was speaking on to yesterday. I didn't have time to cover it, but this is essentially how it works. To be inside the sovereign Queensland government, you must surrender your nationality to become a citizen of the state. Therefore, all employees, including police and MPs of Queensland government, become, for the want of a better word, sovereign citizens. That's how that works.
So, as soon as a police officer accuses you of being a sovereign citizen, what makes you think I'm a
police officer?
A police officer. What makes you think you better prove?
Yes.
That'll confuse them.
Yes.
That does, but he put a strange look on their face.
Imagine so. Guys, thank you very much for coming on
You're
today.
welcome, mate. Yeah, we've been
I
wound it
can't
up.
wait to have you back on, and let's do something on a regular basis. Let's try and
That'd be great.
let people get as much education as we can.
That's
Because
what it's about.
We're not going to win without being
Trying to educate.
It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
It's a numbers game. We've got to get the thing in there.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Well, how was that? I've got to say, after sitting with the guys and doing that, and I had the pleasure of, let me call him Des One, the guy on the right, his company on the Saturday previous, and the level of detail, the level of information, the level of depth is absolutely staggering. The knowledge is all just at their fingertips, and they do have the paperwork to back it up. That's what they were going into, and they do have an over 80-slide presentation on all of this. So, yes, we will do some shows with Des and Des. I'm going to try and start from next week. It'll depend on them and what's a good night for them, but we will do a live show once a week with them for the next, let's call it 8 weeks. It might be more, as they go down through their 80-odd slides and help us understand exactly the position that they have and may encourage us to take. As you've seen tonight, they've been down every other rabbit hole, it seems, and now they claim they've found the right one to be at. And I've got to say, I was gobsmacked at some of the information that was delivered, and it must have shown on my face because Des too was very aware, looking at me as I was taking it in, and clearly made mention of it a couple of times. So there was some awesome information in there, and we need to get a lot more of it. So thank you to Des, and Melody from the Rockhampton Anti-Corruption Academy, and also to Richard and Susie McDonald, who took John and I up to Rockhampton for the weekend. They're part of the Academy as well, and made sure that we got to that event and were able to record that interview. I apologise for the audio. I had some kind of microphone failure I wasn't aware of, so didn't have a set of headphones. And yeah, that was the end result. So apologise, but at least you could hear it. It was good, pretty good stuff. We will get the Des and Des show together. So Sunflower, I saw you're keen to do one in Noosa. Might try and arrange that to be a Voice of Freedom night as well. We'll get the boys down. But essentially what happens with their weekend event, and it really is a weekend event, you'll spend all day Saturday and then maybe do dinner and then maybe do breakfast the next morning, where it will be continual learning. And then you get to go home on sort of Sunday. So we need to find somewhere where we can hold an event like that, be that up at Noosa or somewhere on the Sunshine Coast. Happy to do Sunshine Coast, Brisbane, Gold Coast. The boys are talking about one they've already got going out towards Toowoomba. So we'll just see if we can help promote the Toowoomba event. Maybe there's some people from Brisbane, the Gold Coast, the Sunshine Coast will travel there. It's only a couple of hours drive at the end of the day. So worthwhile doing. And, of course, they have access to Richard as well, who can fly them anywhere in the country. They will go down to Adelaide shortly, we hope. They'll nail that one together. And I see that somebody in Victoria, in Gippsland, down, I want to say Lakes Entrance, then offered to put a show on down there too. That'll work out quite well. I think Richard flies down that way fairly often. So very good to be able to stop and do a show down there with the boys too. So if you'd like a show, contact me, Carl at vofhq.com, and I will send your details to Melody, who is essentially the coordinator for the group. RACA, I'm going to call them, RACA. It's a lot easier for me to get that out than anything else. And she will work tirelessly, I'm sure, to make sure that the boys can come to an event. We will endeavour to try and set that up. So if you've got a venue, or you know of a venue, or you'd like to hook that up, then let us help, and we'll come and stream the event live as well. Amazing information, just amazing, mind-blowing information. Now, tomorrow night, and it will be tomorrow night, I'm going to sleep in the morning. Tomorrow night, David Cole returns, Lumpa, and it's going to be from a pretty special place. He's currently kicking off tonight, night one of Lamarama in the Northern Territory. So tomorrow, I think, I beg your pardon, tomorrow morning might be picking up everybody, and they're heading out to begin night one. So we'll begin the journey with them when they hit the road for Lamarama 2023. And I'm really looking forward to catching up with David. We've been missing each other on the phone in the last couple of weeks, and there is some exciting news coming forward with him, and we'll discuss a little bit more about those things tomorrow night. Of course, we will discuss the vote, and of course, we will be pushing for the no side of the vote. He has some amazing information, amazing news, which if you are sitting on the fence at all in this, then I'm sure this will push you over the line. And please join us then, 6:30 in Queensland, and wherever you are in the world. Look forward to seeing you whenever you can watch it. Now, I know it's pretty difficult. If you don't watch a Nun 2K, you won't know too many people who do. But I did see somebody saying, I can't believe there's only 56 people watching. You may be only seeing one room. I'm looking at about 3 rooms, I think, and I'm getting figures anywhere up to about 200, and that doesn't include what's going on Rumble at the moment. I can't see how many people are watching there at the moment. There was over 100 there. So, look, it does get out. I don't really talk about numbers. It's not overly important to me whether you watch the show live or whether you watch it later or whether you watch it at all at the end of the day. If I offer something that you feel worthy, then you'll find time somewhere in your day to try and hear it. And apparently while driving is one of those times. So Vince, I point out particularly there, he likes to go for a drive and listen to the show. And thankfully he lives bush, so he can do a bit of long distance driving, because I can talk a lot. Other people might do it while they're doing, put it on with a pair of headphones while they're doing the house in the morning. I've heard that. They do their cleaning, their washing, their yard work, all sorts of things while they listen to the Voice of Freedom show. I do try and keep them to around an hour, folks, but sometimes it gets a little bit harder to do that. And today, in that show particularly, was one of those. There was just a mountain of information, and the boys are very keen to share, as I would be too. So if you're keen to come and help them suck in some of that information from them, so to speak, and do it in a live situation with us from the Voice of Freedom, get in touch. That would be amazing. Carl@vofhq.com, and we will work it all out. Bradley, what are you saying here? Just wanting to... Oh, yeah, mate, we loved it. And I will cut together a little video of our trip. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have it up for you. I'll probably play it in tomorrow night's show. But Bradley, we loved it, mate. We had the best time in Rockhampton. You know, Shiver's 12-year-old notwithstanding. Wonderful people, the love, the fellowship, the camaraderie, the shared desire to come together and unite from the 300 or so people that were there on Saturday for the event. And then, well, it started Friday when we arrived, when Richard arrived to pick us up. It was wonderful to be picked up in such style. We went from there to lunch, had a magnificent lunch at the boathouse on the river in Rockhampton, where I learned that the Fitzroy River is actually full of crocodiles. Who knew? I didn't think they came quite down that far, but no, apparently very active in the Fitzroy River at the moment. So you don't go fishing. Now, speaking of fish, what did he call them? I don't know. There is a little name I've forgotten for them that they use in the Fitzroy River. It was very funny. And then that evening we had dinner in Yeppoon. Mel, Shane, and the crew from out there. Thank you guys so much for the hospitality that you showed us at the Railway Hotel. Bloody great meal. And Mel, you were just magnificent too. On Saturday, your Yeppoon My Place T-shirts all over the place. I saw them absolutely everywhere. I don't know if you make them in my size, but I think everywhere that's got a My Place T-shirt, I'm going to have to collect one and start putting a drawer aside, because got to have those shirts. And the only way you're going to get one is to go to a My Place that's running them. We will endeavour to do, obviously, a bit more My Place work in the near future too. Hopefully Rockhampton will work hand in hand with Mel and the team up there at Yeppoon. It's going to be awesome. And as Daryl says here, we just got to get it done. I don't think it could be any simpler than that, mate. We do just got to get it done. Folks, it's been a long day. As I said, Max has foretold exactly what would happen with YouTube, and I thought I might get out of it until midday. That's why I left it up after we'd finished the live. But when I went there back at midday, they'd already killed it on None2K, which, if we are counting subscribers, that is the main channel. It's got about just under 11,000 subscribers on there. So that won't be broadcasting anything for the next 14 days. So if you happen to know anybody that does watch None2K, just steer them over to the Voice of Freedom on YouTube or the Voice of Freedom at Rumble, and or Ozeye, Ozeye, is I think the channel name at Rumble. Going to have to try and get all this coordinated up. I might need another IT man because the other one's too busy cracking crypto things. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, folks, I love your work tonight, for coming on, joining us again. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the questions. I will pass all that on. The boys are very interested to help share this information far and wide. So we'll set that up from next week. You can expect a Double D show. Is that what we should call it? Because Des and Des is going to get a bit tiring. We'll call it a Double D show, I think. And a Double D anti-corruption show. And I'm sure that the Rockhampton Anti-Corruption Academy might need to start thinking about a name change to maybe something like, I don't know, maybe the Australian Anti-Corruption Academy. I like the sound of that. Based in Rockhampton.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back! Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!